Good evening and welcome. Tonight, the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, warns that the nation may lose $23 billion in revenue in 2023 if the menace of oil theft is not tackled frontally. We will not give room for manipulation of next year's general elections, the president declares, says no one will be allowed to use money and thugs to intimidate the people. Central Bank of Nigeria rolls out new guidelines for cash withdrawals in the country, limits weekly over-the-counter withdrawals by individuals and corporate entities to 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira.
On Business News tonight, International Monetary Fund representative calls for a stable macroeconomic environment to curb human capital flight from the country.
On Sports News tonight, for the first time in their history, Morocco are into the World Cup quarter-finals after Spain missed 3 penalties in a dramatic shootout following a 120-minute stalemate.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, over 4,000 new lawyers inducted into the legal profession at a ceremony held at the Body of Benchers complex in Abuja.
And in international news from London, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Ukraine is switching to emergency shutdowns to stabilize its power grid after Russia's latest missile attacks.
The nation is currently bleeding as a result of ongoing oil theft by criminal elements in the country. And if the menace continues, the federal government may lose an estimated $23 billion in 2023. That's according to the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, who has expressed worries that the nation currently produces 1 million barrels of crude per day, as against the 2 million barrels target by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. He was speaking during the inauguration of a special investigation panel set up to check crude oil theft in the country.
Please be seated.
The National Security Advisor, retired Major General Babagana Monguno, is meeting with members of the Special Investigative Panel on oil theft in Nigeria for their inauguration. Recent interventions by security agencies reveal massive illicit platforms of crude oil theft, ranging from marine evacuations via vessels and loadouts from illegal operation platforms. Worried by the incessant cases of crude oil theft, which is currently leading to dwindling revenues, while also posing serious security concerns to the country, the National Security Advisor vows that it will no longer be business as usual for those involved.
With the scale of theft and losses and the alleged complicity of regulatory agencies, officials, and security personnel, as well as the involvement of international collaborators, this enterprise is deeply entrenched and would be extremely difficult to eliminate without very stern and decisive action by the federal government of Nigeria. Whatever steps the government will take, it will take. It will work with all agencies, private, public, whatever, to ensure that Nigeria is not shortchanged by criminals.
The 11-man committee is made up of security and forensics experts. The committee chairman gives assurances of thoroughness as it begins investigations.
Members of this panel will justify the confidence reposed in them by working assiduously and round the clock to carry out the assignment effectively and efficiently. We are determined to work towards uncovering the clandestine activities of individuals, groups, or agencies, as the case may be.
Some of the terms of reference for the committee include ascertaining the circumstances surrounding the illegal insertion into the Trans-Escravas pipeline in Burutu local government area of Delta State and the ramifications of crude oil theft in the country and the extent of losses, while identifying those involved in the criminal enterprise. The team will also examine the specific roles of regulatory agencies, security agencies, arms of government, and international oil companies in aiding the illegal enterprise. The committee is expected to submit its findings by February the 21st, 2023.
Meanwhile, the president has praised the local production of defense equipment, including armored personnel carriers in the country through the domestication of foreign technologies and backward integration. President Muhammadu Buhari made the commendation during the commissioning of the Muhammadu Buhari Technology and Innovation Complex at the headquarters of the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure in Abuja. According to him, the new Naseni under his watch is one pivotal legacy of this administration to the next one. Our State House correspondent Gloria Omezuke has more.
For the first time in over 30 years of its establishment, a sitting president visits the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, Naseni. President Muhammadu Buhari, who doubles as chairman of the board of Naseni, is flanked by top government officials who have come for the commissioning of the new 4-floor Naseni complex with state-of-the-art facilities, including laboratories and 64 offices named after him. A showcase of advanced science and engineering facilities, including transformers, electronic science kits, power equipment, mechanical engineering tools, among others, locally produced by the Naseni. After the tour, the president is undoubtedly pleased about the several foreign domesticated productions he believes will engender industrial development.
With our deliberate repositioning of Naseni to be at par with other similar agencies of government across the world and optimal performance, we are convinced that the future maintenance and sustainability of our key national infrastructure are assured. New Naseni is undoubtedly among the most important legacy of our administration. Is bequeathing to next government in 2023.
The executive vice chairman of Naseni, Professor Mohammed Haruna, apparently is not done yet.
We will soon provide innovative technology solution for stopping crude oil theft and bunkering, vandalization of power line and pipelines, as well as surveillance and monitoring devices for our rails, roads, and seaways. Your Excellency, Mr. President, my chairman, you have approved all that we in Naseni have asked from you, and we are resolutely determined.
The president wraps up by promising the conferment of a national award in the category of Officer of the Order of the Niger, OON, on the executive vice chairman of Naseni by the last Federal Executive Council meeting of the year. From Abuja, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Manipulations of any form in the 2023 general elections will not be allowed, the president has declared, as he restates his result to ensure that the polls are free, fair and credible. President Muhammadu Buhari made the comments while hosting the West African Elders Forum pre-election mediation mission led by former Sierra Leonean President Dr. Ernest Bai Koroma at the State House. Making reference to what he describes as a successful conduct of off-season elections in Anambra, Ekiti and Osun states, President Buhari asserts that he would allow Nigerians to choose leaders they want, according to a statement released by his special advisor on media, Femi Adesina. The president maintained that people should vote for whoever they want and in whatever party, noting that no one will be allowed to use money and thugs to intimidate the people. According to him, elections are even more difficult to rig now as Nigerians are better informed and know that the advantages of dialogue outweigh carrying of weapons. To legal matters now, the Federal High Court, sitting in Port Harcourt, has struck out a suit by the People's Democratic Party challenging the eligibility of a court party, its governorship candidates, and running mates to contest the 2023 general elections in Rivers State. A court struck out the case for lack of jurisdiction. The presiding judge, Justice Stephen De La Palme, also struck out a separate suit by the PDP against all the National Assembly candidates of the party for lack of jurisdiction. The PDP in the suit prayed the court to declare that Accord and its candidates were not entitled to participate in the 2023 general elections, having failed to hold valid primaries for the nomination of candidates as required by law and the guidelines of INEC. The counsel to the defendants hailed the judgments as a victory to accord and for democracy. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has refused the bail application of the Kogi State House of Assembly candidates of the New Nigeria People's Party for Ankpa 11 constituency, Mr. Ismaila Atumei and 2 others. The trio were arraigned before the court yesterday by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on an 18-count charge of alleged 1.4 billion naira bank fraud. The other 2 are a former employee of Union Bank, Abdul Malik Salau, and one Ngene Joshua. They pleaded not guilty and applied for bail through their counsel, Mr. Bolaji Ayorinde. The EFCC counsel, Mr. Rotimi Oyedepo, had opposed the application and instead asked the court to make an order for an accelerated hearing of the matter. In his ruling on the application and counter-application for bail today, Justice Tijani Ringim held Oyedepo's arguments that the defendants were a flight risk, as the probability of them jumping bail is high. He therefore remanded the defendants in the Ikoyi Correctional Facility and adjourned till January 24, 2023 for a trial. The defendants were alleged to have hacked into the system of Union Bank and defrauded the institution of over 1.4 billion naira. And to the National Assembly, where the move by the federal government to institutionalize the National Social Investment Program, NSIP, is now a step closer to becoming a reality. The Senate passed the establishment bill for the program through second reading. It is intended to establish the National Social Investment Program Agency for the management and implementation of the scheme, as well as provide the necessary statutory backing for it under the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Our correspondent, Linda Kigbe, reports.
The Buhari administration created the National Social Investment Program in 2016 to ensure a fairer distribution of a nation's resources to vulnerable members of the society and in the process alleviate poverty. It is hinged on 4 social support programs meant to empower the poorest and most vulnerable, namely NPower, Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, National Homegrown School Feeding Program, and Conditional Cash Transfer. President Muhammadu Buhari is seeking statutory backing for the program, and he has sent an executive bill to the National Assembly for this purpose.
1,632,480 households are currently benefiting from the cash transfer program, while 4,234 have been given productive cash grants of 150,000 naira each. My respected colleagues, the passage of this bill will ensure continuity and sustainability of NSIP as a reliable tool to solve poverty problems in Nigeria.
Lawmakers unanimously support the proposed legislation, but they raise some concerns.
What we had was that people got the handouts, it didn't matter to them, they were just looking forward to more, and there was no arrangement whereby people could be monitored and whatever was given to them could also be monitored. This bill will stop all that.
We want an improvement, or the government wants an improvement in the way and manner the program or the various programs are implemented. Personally, I feel that we really didn't get it right in many ways, because even to identify those who should be beneficiaries, this is a major issue.
The bill passes second reading and is sent to the Committee on Special Duties for further legislative action.
Those in favor that this will be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Meanwhile, President Buhari has forwarded the names of Mrs. Aisha Ahmed and Mr. Edward Adamu to the Senate for confirmation as deputy governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He's asking the Senate to confirm the nominees to serve a second and final term at the Apex Bank as deputy governors. President Buhari is also asking the upper chamber to confirm the appointment of Ambassador Ayuba Jacob as a member of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, CBN rolls out new guidelines for cash withdrawals in the country, limits weekly over-the-counter withdrawals by individuals and corporate entities to 100,000 and 500,000 naira. That's in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us to watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mongono, warns that the nation may lose $23 billion in revenue in 2023 if the menace of oil theft is not tackled promptly. We will not give room for manipulation of next year's general elections, the president declares, says no one will be allowed to use money and thugs to intimidate the people. Central Bank of Nigeria rolls out new guidelines for cash withdrawals in the country, limits weekly over-the-counter withdrawals by individuals and corporate entities to 100,000 and 500,000 naira. President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine is switching to emergency shutdowns to stabilize its power grid after Russia's latest missile attacks. In what appears to be part of efforts at mopping up excess cash in circulation, the Central Bank of Nigeria has ordered deposit money banks and other financial institutions to limit the over-the-counter weekly cash withdrawals by individuals and corporate entities to 100,000 and 500,000 naira. The CBN announced this in a circular today, stating that the directives take effect nationwide from January 9th, 2023. It also set daily maximum withdrawals via point-of-sale terminal at 20,000 naira and 100,000 naira per week, and 200 naira as highest denomination to be withdrawn from ATMs.
Integrity of a local legal tender.
On October the 26th this year, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, in a special press briefing revealed that 2.73 trillion naira out of the 3.23 trillion naira currency in circulation, that's about 85%, was outside the banking system.
An indication.
In a bid to curb the holding of bank notes and take back control of cash in circulation, Mr. Emefiele announced the bank's action to redesign the 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes, which takes effect mid-December, and gave January 31, 2023 as deadline for the deposit of all old notes outside the banks.
We believe that the redesign of the currency will help deepen our drive to entrench cashless economy, as it will be complemented by increased minting of our e-naira. This will further rein in the currency outside the banking system into the banking system, thereby making monetary policy more efficacious.
The new naira notes were then launched on November 23 by President Muhammadu Buhari. Today, as a follow-up to its currency management and cashless policy drive, the CBN, in a statement, revised cash withdrawal limits for individuals and companies. Going forward, individuals and corporate organizations are allowed to withdraw over-the-counter a maximum of 100,000 and 500,000 naira per week. Maximum daily withdrawals for ATMs and POS was set at 20,000 naira with a cumulative of 100,000 naira weekly. Also, only denominations of 200 naira and below will be loaded into ATMs. Meanwhile, as an exception for compelling circumstances and legitimate purposes, cash withdrawals above the prescribed limit are allowed, but should not exceed 5 million and 10 million naira for individuals and corporate organizations. However, this would attract processing fees of 5% and 10% and should not exceed once a month.
Let's examine the implications of this new directive from the central bank. Joining us now is the lead consultant, CEO of Mascot Consult and Communications Limited, and former chief economist at Zenith Bank PLC, Mr. Marcel Okeke. He joins us from Lekki in Lagos. Thank you for staying awake to be on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you very much.
I don't suppose that you exclaimed like many Nigerians who saw this directive from the CBN. So let's get your initial reaction to the directive that has just been announced.
My initial reaction is surprise. You know, I am surprised. You know, but on deeper thought, I say, well, is the right kind of sequel to, you know, the resigning and reissuance of the Naira that is ongoing. It complements, you know, the policy that is ongoing. That is the resign and reissuance of the Naira that's ongoing, that will terminate on the 31st of January 2023. So what the CBN has just announced, you know, cash withdrawal limit, complements that policy. That is how best to understand it. Thank you.
You don't think it's a lot for many Nigerians to take in, because this is a country with a large population of the unbanked. What would be the immediate consequence or impact that this policy directive would have on those set of people?
Well, certainly we have to look at the impact vis-a-vis what are the objectives. You know, the objective, you know, broadly speaking, is to push the frontiers of the cashless economy policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and by so doing, encourage what is also called financial inclusion. Okay? So the point is that a takeoff like this, there could be some kind of hiccup, you know, due to infrastructure, but the whole thing could be seen as digitization of financial services. You know, every person is expected to key in by going digital, you know, and then we'll be looking at the infrastructure in place to enhance or facilitate that digitization process. Of course, you know, the government generally is also pursuing digital economy. So this is financial, you know, digitization, and everybody is expected to, you know, be included. So this is going to push financial inclusion, you know, to a large extent. But initially, there could be hiccup, you know, because the banks, the financial institutions that will drive this process or get this implemented, you know, some of them have challenges with their platform, digital platform, and all that. But we believe that in the mid to long term, you know, it's going to help in the cashless economy pursuit. Thank you.
You know, it might help to actually have an example, you know, following this explanation, because to many people, I mean, they have their monies in the banks, but CBN is trying to tell them that they have no access, you know, to the funds that they themselves put into the banks. So perhaps give us an example of where this probably has worked, you know, to make this transition to a digital economy.
Let me tell you, you know, there was a time when people would be traveling from, businessmen would be traveling from Nnewi to come to Lagos to buy spare parts. Okay? And they will load, you know, hundreds of thousands of Naira in the buses and all that. And then you have cases of armed robbers laying them and carrying away those, you know, monies and all that. In recent years, you no longer hear about that. They have moved on. So everything is electronic, the e-channels. So internet banking, you know, electronic banking, and so on and so forth. So that the process is that people will become financial, you know, there's need for financial literacy, and the CBN will carry on the necessary enlightenment and education, you know, to get people into where they are going, or where they want them to go. And in the mid to long term, like I said, everybody will move on, because there are a lot of dangers in carrying cash. We know that Nigeria is a cash-based economy. It's been like that. So it's a fixation kind of thing. But I am also telling you that over a short period of time, we'll adjust. Okay? We know there's a high level of illiteracy and all that. But that could be handled, you know, because as we speak now, many people who have phone, I mean, the volume of phone or connected phone in Nigeria is already in the region of, 114 414 million or something like that, or 214 million by the latest list from NCC. So meaning that every person that has a phone, Android or otherwise, is empowered, is equipped to start keying into this kind of policy and save themselves, from the dangers of carrying cash all over the place. That's the way it is, and that's what is going to work out. Thank you.
Mr. Marcelo Okeke, thank you so much for expressing your thoughts on this issue. I'm sure Nigerians are looking forward to understanding it better over the next few days. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're on to politics now. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, says if elected Nigeria's president in 2023, the issue of ASUU strikes and decay in the health sector will be tackled head-on. Addressing a crowd of supporters at a mega rally in Owerri, the Imo State capital, Mr. Obi, who was accompanied by his running mate, Yusuf Baba Ahmed, also promised to ensure power goes back to the people. According to the LP flag bearer, youth and women empowerment, job creation, investment in agriculture and exports will also be prioritized.
Your Excellency, you are welcome.
The Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi and his wife Margaret Obi arrived at the Sam Mbakwe Airport in Owerri, Imo State. From the airport, it's straight to the campaign ground where supporters are already waiting for the Labour Party as Peter Obi and his team canvass for votes in next year's general elections. Yusuf Dati, the running mate to Peter Obi, says the time has come for Nigerians to take back their country, and the Labour Party is that platform.
Peter Obi didn't get the resources, didn't get the power to contest presidency. But him and others, them say, make we relax. Make we show reason, this time will be our own. There are reasons they bring justice. As I said here, I'm telling you, say, people from where I come from, then don't reason. It's time for Nigeria to belong to everybody.
The Labour Party presidential candidate says issues such as ASUU strikes and corruption will be addressed, while his administration will prioritise exports of viable agricultural products, especially from Imo State.
Our government must prioritize exports. We must export and export in order to create wealth. We must make sure that the young people who have energy, who have talent, are in government and will be able to participate in running the government.
Labour Party chieftains in Imo believe Peter Obi has the solution to Nigeria's challenges and the party can win come 2023.
Peter Obi is the best in this generation, and because he's the best in this generation, the youths have already identified it from north, south, east, west, and even south-south. Have seen that this man is the best, and we have gathered together to give him every support.
It's the first major campaign rally of the Labour Party in Imo, and as the 2023 elections draw near, the party says more programs will be initiated to woo the electorate ahead of the polls.
Heading on now to our studio in Abuja, where Gloria Mezoke is standing by with more. Hi, Gloria.
Hello, Amarachi. Thank you. Here in Abuja, over 4,000 candidates who emerged successful at the August to September 2022 final bar examination, and 20 candidates from the previous set were today called to bar at the Body of Benchers complex in Abuja. The first of the two-day event saw graduates called in 2 tranches and urged to stick to the ethics of the legal profession by the chairman of the Body of Benchers, Mr. Wole Olanikbekun. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
Twice today, the benchers made their procession into the Harriet Adebalogun Auditorium of the new Body of Benchers complex in Abuja, while the applicants for call remain on their feet. Of the 5,802 students who participated in the examination, these are the successful 4,691 candidates who passed the August-September 2022 bar final exams and 20 candidates from the previous call. Candidates the director of the Nigerian Law School says he can vouch for.
I am happy to affirm that they exhibited good manners and decorum during their training. They have also been groomed in the best ethics and ethos of our noble profession.
After the applicants have been presented for call, all 4,711 of them are called to the bar by the chairman body of benchers.
I hereby admit each and every one of the 4,711 applicants herein present severally to the bar as barristers and solicitors of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. You may now put on your wigs.
As they take their seats, he begins by reminding them of the ethics of their profession. He goes on to speak on the need for upgraded law schools across the country.
While I do not question the jurisdiction of the National Assembly to make laws as appropriate, law school campuses cannot be established without clearance from the Council of Legal Education. What we need now is the improvement and upgrading of the existing law school campuses using the newly commissioned Graham Douglas Law School Campus, Port Harcourt, be it an equipped by the Rivers State government as a model. I dare say that it is the best in the country for now.
He addresses the issue of remuneration for both judges and lawyers.
We cannot continue to boast of our success if our successors continue to wallop in penury. It is not realistic for any council, whatever might be the newness or greenness of his or her wig, to be paid any wage equivalent to the government's minimum wage of 30,000 naira per month. Without being immodest, a UCONS member posted to any law office deserves more than that as a supplementary allowance.
This concludes the call ceremony. The new wigs are charged to serve Nigeria and humanity in justice, without fear of favor, affection, or ill will. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the president of the Nigerian Bar Association and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Yakubu Mikiao, boycotted today's call to bar ceremony. In a statement, the NBA president says participating in the event would be to endorse, celebrate, or condone a practice that he considers unwholesome and unprofessional by virtue of the Rules of Professional Conduct for Legal Practitioners 2007. The NBA president's action is coming 2 days after he wrote a letter to the chairman of the body of benchers, Chief Wole Olanipekun, asking him to step aside and not preside over the call to bar ceremony. It follows allegations of professional misconduct in the wake of the scandalous email by former partner in Chief Olanipekun's firm, Adekunbi Ogunde, to Saipem, an expatriate company claiming that her principal, Chief Olanipekun, uses his office as body of benchers chairman to influence judges and get favorable judgments for his clients. Mr. Mikiao explains that his leadership remains committed to the protection of the integrity of the bench and the bar. The House of Representatives is urging the federal government to reverse its earlier decision to stop work on the 1,400-kilometer standard gauge East-West Coastal Rail Line project. The line is planned to link Lagos, Ore, Benin, Sapele, Warri, Yanagwa, Port Harcourt, Aba, Uyo, Calabar, and Akampa Ikom, with a branch line from Benin to Asaba, Onitsha, Port Harcourt, One Deep Seaport. Following a motion moved by Mr. Dozie Nwakwo and unanimously supported by members, the House agreed that the project should continue, considering its economic importance.
The House are aware that in August 2021, the Federal Executive Council approved the award of a contract valued at 11 billion, Honorable Sergius, 174,769,000 for the project. The House is also aware of the importance rail line project to the socio-economic development of the country, which necessitated the accelerated completion of the project. The House is disturbed that the project was stopped by the Federal Ministry of Transportation in 2022, despite the concluded arrangement with Standard Chartered Bank and the federal government 30 billion naira commitment to the contractor. The House is worried that the non-completion of the rail project, which aggravated the problem of travelers who suffered delay due to the deplorable state of the road, coupled with checkpoints along Calabar-Lagos road. Considering that the inability to complete the project within the period projected 6 years period will continue to put pressure on the two seaports located in Port Harcourt and Lagos and the existing routes.
Over in Rivers State, Governor Nyesom Wike has continued with his infrastructure drive for the state with the flagging off of the reconstruction of internal and link roads in the industrial hub of the Eleme local government area today. Governor Wike says the roads in Alode and Onne, when completed in 6 months, will greatly scale up economic activities in the area. Former Governor of Rivers State, Cross River State, Mr. Donald Duke, was on hand to perform the ceremony.
The latest port of call for the Rivers State government in continuation of a series of projects inauguration and flag-offs is Eleme local government area. The state governor Nyesom Wike's guest and former governor of Cross River State Donald Duke are in the industrial zone of the state for the flag-off of the construction of Alode Onne, Eleme local government area.
The Alode Onne road has a separate width. It has a wider width of 10.3 kilometers. This is designed to accommodate high vehicular traffic and heavy axle load.
Governor Wike reaffirms his commitment to ensure that every corner of the state benefits from the infrastructure development under his administration.
This is the economic hub of the state, and therefore everything must be done to make sure more economic activities are attracted here. Opening all these roads will of course give the companies the hope that one day the federal government will remember the East-West road.
His guest, Mr. Duke, commends the governor for always prioritizing the interest of his people.
Perhaps no government in Africa that I know where literally day in, day out, there is something to celebrate. This is the hotbed, the crux of politics in Nigeria today. You have not allowed that to digress you from your primary responsibility, which is governance. Perhaps your biggest challenge is to find people to come and flag off or commission one project or the other. I can imagine the amount of, the calculus that goes in, who do I call this time? Because you said to me on our way here that for the next 23 days, you'll be flagging off or commissioning one project or the other. That is not the norm in our society, particularly when you're winding down.
The project is then flagged off. With the flag off of this project, the resident and business community in the industrial area are looking forward to a better business environment, especially in and out of the Onne port.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Marachi.
Thank you, Gloria. Now, nearly 2 months after the last batch of the 63 victims of the March 28th train attack in Kaduna were released, the victims are demanding compensation from the federal government to enable them to restart their lives. Their demands come a day after the Nigerian Railway Corporation resumed train operations on the route. Months after the suspension of operations after the attack, they claimed the lives of 9 passengers. Speaking to journalists in Kaduna, the victims said many of them lost their means of livelihood during the period they were in custody of the terrorists.
Actually, they did collected our contacts that they were going to get back to us, but till now nobody said anything. We are just living by his mercy because As at the time our family members realized themselves in this mess, they've gone through difficulties, let's be sincere, because many of us sold our things. Currently now everybody is facing different challenges with the things we've lost. And many of us are even working under a private institution. And while these incidents occur, you know, definitely they are going to replace you with somebody. You are not going to, they won't wait for you to let this person come back first, no. So many of us have even lost what they are doing, and source of income short. So we're just trying to start from somewhere. As a citizen of this country, which I'm very proud to be, I'm expecting much more from them, let's be sincere. Because as a citizen which these incidents occurred to, I'm expecting them to at least come to our aid and think, what is happening with you guys? How are you coping with life? Okay, let's help you. Those people who lose their jobs, okay, come, let's sit down. Both of you that have problems with your business, okay, come, let's assist you so that at least you won't fall into a depression or something.
The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, Reverend Yakubu Pam, has been speaking on the allegations of corruption leveled against him by the Catholic Bishop of Yola, Most Reverend Stephen Mamza. Bishop Mamza had alleged massive corruption at the commission and called for Reverend Pam's resignation, accusing him of shortchanging pilgrims during the recent pilgrimage to Rome. But in an interview with Channels Television, Reverend Pam denied receiving money from any pilgrims and threatened legal action over the matter.
The Commission have never received money from Adamawa Christian Pilgrim Welfare Board in the operation that they planned 5 or 6 months ago to Rome. The operation that they planned to go to Rome, they wanted to do it without recourse to the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, which they do not have the power to do that. And while trying to do that, they deceive the pilgrims that they already have visas for them. Without knowing, the Italian embassy have told them they do not deal with any authority in Nigeria in terms of visa except the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, especially when it involves more than 10 people, 50 people, and on a pilgrimage exercise, the authority that writes to those embassies to release visa is us. We are also releasing an official letter by the legal department asking the bishop 5 days from today to give us a receipt of money that he paid here, or he give us invoice that will give him that he paid money here. Particularly in this place, we do not receive foreign currency. It's against the Nigerian law.
Let's segue to business news. Here's Melinda Akilami.
Many thanks, Amarachi. Welcome to Business News. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, representative to Nigeria has called for an enabling environment to retain human capital in the country. The IMF resident representative to the country made this call today at the Regional Economic Outlook event in Lagos amid the current migration of skilled workers from the country.
In Nigeria, it looks dire when you see young people trying to move away to other countries. But this is not only a phenomenon in Nigeria, it's a global phenomenon that people are moving around. You could say that there are push and pull factors. You may interpret this as saying Nigeria is not doing well, therefore its young population want to go somewhere else. Or you may interpret in a different way, saying other countries are doing very, very well, and Nigerians are going there to explore those opportunities. And here, it's the critical aspect I think about this, when I think about this. They may come back, and they will come back better. because of exploring those opportunities. The question we should be asking is not why they go, but when are they going to come back and bring back positive learning that will spill over through this economy.
The equities market sustained yesterday's bullish momentum as the all-share index rose higher by 0.20%. John Mekwa has the rest of the story.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the stock market report. Well, industrial goods counter sustained the momentum from yesterday and led the markets, at least led the industrial goods counter into the positive territory. It was up 1.21%. That's thanks to Boa Cement. And this is the second day running. Boa Cement is leading that counter into the positive. Banking recovered from the loss it recorded yesterday, 0.03. It's marginal, but it's still green. And then oil and gas lost that positive that it had yesterday, and it's down at the close of trade today, 0.38%. And now looking at the activity charts, it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all, because yesterday we had volume, celebrated volume, in fact, because it was up more than 300%. But today it lost about 71% of that and ended up at 185 million. Value still in the red from yesterday, and deals, well, still within 3,000, but less than what it was yesterday. But all of this did not deter the all-share index. The market still closed in the positive, 0.20%, still within the 48,000. There we have it. And then the market cap still, of course, within the 26 trillion naira. And once the all-share is in the green, investors are hopeful and the bull is happy. So we'll leave the bull here and hope that at the end of trading tomorrow, it can sustain this position and, of course, keep the investors hopeful and happy. That's the stock market report. I'm Ini John Mekwa. It's back to you.
That's business news. It's back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Melinda. Beyond our shores now, former U.S. President Donald Trump's family real estate company has been found guilty of tax crimes. The organization was convicted on all counts today after 2 days of jury deliberations in New York. The business is synonymous with the former president, but neither Trump nor his family members were on trial. The company is expected to face a fine of about $1.6 million and may also face difficulty in securing loans and financing. The M23 movement in the Democratic Republic of Congo has expressed its support for the peace efforts by regional leaders 2 weeks ago, despite not being at the meeting they held in Luanda, Angola. A communique by the group's spokesperson says it's ready to begin disengaging and withdrawing. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky today announced the country was switching to emergency shutdown to stabilize its power grid. Simon Pusey has more.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Ukraine is switching to emergency shutdowns to stabilize its power grid after Russia's latest missile attacks. He said many regions were affected and the local authorities warned that about half of the Kyiv region would remain without electricity in the coming days. 4 people were killed in Monday's attacks. In a separate development, the governor of Russia's Kursk region said a drone attack on an airfield set an oil storage tanker alight. Video posted online shows fierce flames and dense black smoke billowing from the site. Meanwhile, Volodymyr Zelensky has visited troops close to front lines in the eastern Donbass region to mark the country's Armed Forces Day. Video showed Zelensky meeting soldiers and handing out awards more than 9 months after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He also recorded a separate video in which he spoke in front of a huge sign with letters saying Sloviansk, a city held by Ukrainian forces near the besieged city of Bakhmut. Ukrainian officials say fighting is raging around Bakhmut as Russian troops seek its capture to gain a greater foothold in Donbass, following battlefield setbacks elsewhere. New video released in Iran shows protesters blocking busy roads and setting fire to objects in the city of Mashhad. Traffic came to a standstill as demonstrators chanted slogans on one of the main routes into the city. Iranian shops shut their doors in several cities following calls for a 3-day nationwide strike from protesters seeking the fall of clerical rulers. Iran has been rocked by nationwide unrest following the death of the Iranian Kurdish woman Masha Amini in September. The Al Jazeera TV network has submitted a case against Israeli forces at the International Criminal Court over the killing of the journalist and reporter Shireen Abu Akleh. The Palestinian-American journalist was shot in the head during an Israeli army raid in the occupied West Bank in May. The Israeli military concluded that one of its soldiers probably killed her, but called her death unintentional. Al Jazeera said that was completely unfounded and that its evidence showed it was a deliberate killing. China has bid its farewell to its former leader Jiang Zemin in a state memorial service in Beijing. Jiang, who took power after the 1989 crackdown of the Tiananmen Square protests, will be remembered for leading the country through a decade of burgeoning economic growth and prosperity. He oversaw notable events like China's entry into the World Trade Organization and the handover of Hong Kong from the British to the Chinese. The Chinese Communist Party said he died last Wednesday from leukemia and multiple organ failures. He was 96. New video shows the moment a protester punched Albania's opposition leader as he walked in a street in Tirana. Sali Berisha had a visible bruise on his face as he spoke in front of a crowd after the incident. Berisha, who has previously served both as president and prime minister, was barred in 2021 from entering the United States over alleged corruption. He denies any wrongdoing. And South African scientists have celebrated a milestone towards building the world's largest radio astronomy instrument, which aims to unlock mysteries of the universe. The construction launch outside the remote town of Carnarvon marks the next phase of developing the instrument. The location was chosen for its remoteness, with hills providing an extra shield against radio interference. The project, which is co-hosted with Australia, aims to reveal events since the cosmic dawn, when the first stars and galaxies were formed.
Well, it all begins here at the foundation. This isn't the foundation to your house. This really is an incredibly challenging engineering and set of technical requirements that are needed to ensure all of that optics actually works as required.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Gonzalo Ramos has justified the shock decision to drop Cristiano Ronaldo by scoring a hat-trick on his full debut as Portugal demolished Switzerland 6-1 to par into the World Cup quarterfinals this evening. Now, the 21-year-old Ramos, who started instead of Ronaldo, became the youngest player to strike 3 times in the World Cup knockout match since Pelé in 1958. Achraf Hakimi struck the decisive penalty to send Spain crashing out on Morocco into the World Cup quarterfinals for the first time, winning by 3-0 in a shootout after a 0-0 draw earlier this evening. Well, Spain coach Luis Enrique claimed that his players prepared by taking 1,000 penalties as a homework, but Pablo Sarabia, Carlos Soler and Sergio Busquets, the skipper, all missed from the spot, and Madrid-born Hakimi dinged his home to the delight of Morocco's raucous support. Meanwhile, Morocco fans celebrated outside the Education City Stadium after watching their team beat Spain on penalties to reach the World Cup quarterfinals for the first time in their history. Morocco became only the 4th African nation to reach the last 8 of the World Cup, 12 years after Ghana did so in South Africa. The supporters of the Doha fan zone burst into a frenzy after the match. And that Sports News is back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Ayatunde. And the main news again. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mongono, today warned that the nation may lose $23 billion in revenue in 2023 if the menace of oil theft is not tackled head-on. That is the news tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.